For the longest time, I spent way too much time in my gym, especially in the early days, just kind of waiting around for my gym to grow. And like this is typically kind of what my day looked like. I coached 6 and 7 a.m. classes. I'd have breakfast. Maybe I'd post to socials kind of during breakfast. I'd work out after that. Maybe coach to 9:30, and then I would have this time where I just essentially was busy then until the evening classes or the lunchtime classes. Well, I had a lunchtime class at the time. I'd edit my website, I'd be writing blogs, I'd tidy the gym, maybe fix some stuff that needed fixing, or I'd build some, I don't know, some shelves for the wall balls, whatever it is. I'd be reaching out to leads ish, answering emails. I'd spend a lot of time in the back end of my gym membership, kind of checking finances, running reports, just seeing kind of what was going on. I'll be watching YouTubes on how to grow a business. I'd PT clients in between. I'd eat coffee, coach the evening classes, and eventually I'd go home. And and every day, someone would say, "How was your day?" I'm like, you know what, my day was so busy, I'm exhausted. I would feel absolutely exhausted. But if somebody just changed the question as to like, what did you do today to grow your business? I wouldn't be able to answer that question at the time, right? And I did this for years. Like I did this thinking that simply because I built something and that I was posting about it and I was running a really good kind of product on the inside of my gym and posting about running a great product on the inside of my gym to potential clients, I assumed that my gym would grow because of that. And like paid ads weren't really a thing yet back then when I was running my gym. I started my gym in 2016, and so paid ads didn't really kind of like really hit off in the UK until probably like maybe like 2020. Um, don't shoot my ignorant belief about that, but yeah, I think paid ads now is kind of like there's so many more marketing agencies out there encouraging gym owners to kind of go into paid ads, which we'll kind of get into a little bit later. But it just wasn't a thing, and the thing is that even now, like most gym owners who are resorting to paid ads, they're doing that while still having the schedule that looks like mine did. And it's not good enough. It doesn't work long term for your gym. So there's a few things that I want to do today with this training, which is like ultimately I'm going to help you strip your schedule down to doing things that actually grow your business and removing all the other things that aren't going to be moving your business forward, and therefore giving you a little bit more freedom of choice what to do with your calendar. So the idea is to get you some time back, to get your energy up, because I'm going to help you shift your consciousness or your awareness to the things that actually need to improve in terms of like how you spend your time. So when you get clear on what actually grows your business, you will start to become more productive rather than busy, right? Because that schedule that I had was keeping me busy, but it was also keeping me broke. And if you have a similar schedule, yours needs to change as well, because you're a business owner. You're not a jack of all trades that works for a company, right? You shouldn't you shouldn't feel like you have a job as a business owner. You should feel like you are the business owner. So look, when you're productive, everything in your life becomes a lot more simple, right? Productivity's kind of been corrupted in our modern world. Like the definition of it is completely backwards. We kind of think that productivity is like having something to do that produces feedback or movement on a particular thing immediately, but it's not. Productivity is actually just a measurement of your return on investment from an action you took. So it's not that like we need to be productive in order to get a return. It's that actually we just need to make sure that the thing we're doing has a higher return on investment than another task that we could have done. It's about potency. It's about the return on investment rather than actually the action itself, if that makes sense. Like there's no point in taking actions to varying degrees if the ROI stays pretty much the same. When we take an action and we find that it's like a 10x ROI on the outcome that we want, it's like, I need to stop taking all these other actions and just focus on taking that one action. It's about finding the more simple and quicker way to get the thing that we want. Okay. That's what productivity is. Like I said, my previous schedule had like everyone around me, including like other business owners, were like, man, like you pour so much work into this, you are going to like this business is going to take off because you are just like you work in it all the time. You're just constantly on the go. You're going to be successful because of how much effort you are putting in. You hustle, you do this, you do that. But like, if you were to measure my productivity at the time, if you were to measure what's actually coming back towards me in my business based off my schedule, maximum energy in, zero results produced. Like, I wasn't getting any kind of return on my investment in terms of what I was pouring my time into. I maintained my busyness, but my business was actually just hovering between like 5 and 7K months, right? That wasn't take home pay, that was total revenue. It wasn't good. So the folks who are kind of in the camp of like, well, hard work pays off, I'm really sorry to say it, but like, that's just not true. The right work pays off, and it usually pays a lot better as well. And so that's kind of what I do now. I help gym owners like with their time management. I help them with a bunch of other business stuff as well, but time management is one of them. And lots of business mentorships like don't really include much about how to spend your time. It includes strategies and what to implement and what things to do. But all that happens is that you end up doing them with like to the level that you were already being unproductive and busy, right? Just because you have clarity on what tasks you should do doesn't mean you're spending your time right. And so I've found that there's a lot of other things that actually produce better return on investment for the time that you do spend on the right tasks as well. So we're going to go a level deeper because I know that we can get 10x for your return on investment. So something to be aware of before we kind of get into how to spend your time is that your time like outside of the business is as important as your time inside the business. Okay. So like something to be aware of first when it comes to managing your time is that what pours into you is just as important as what pours out of you. Okay. So like, let's just look at relationships, for example. Is your relationship currently flourishing if you have one, right? If it's on the back burner because of business stress, no matter what you do and change about how you spend your time in your business, it probably still is going to give you a very low return on investment. So even if you take the right actions, you're still not going to get essentially what you want, because part of what we want as human beings is great relationships. But if we're not able to pour time into them and have these flourishing relationships, it's going to have a negative effect on all of the other aspects of our life. And so this is why managing your time across your health, relationships, time, and resources essentially is so important. Great relationships where your needs and hers or his needs are met, right, is great. But what's even better is like when there's overflow, like when you have a flourishing relationship that nourishes you and rebuilds your energy after every day. Going to work with full energy stores is next level. It means the work you do produce is going to be effortless for you, right? Because it's not going to be like, oh, I have to go to work and produce today. It's going to feel more like, oh, I feel so full and satisfied and nourished in myself. I now have so much more energy to pour into my business that actually I can do so without it depleting me. I can do so from a almost like, and it's just different energy. Now, I experienced like a long season of relationship struggle that I had put down to my business stress, when in reality, I was stuck in a cycle of my relationship being a poor source of nourishment on both sides. I had equal responsibility in that. It takes two to tango, right? I wasn't pouring into the relationship, neither was she. And that just meant that what poured out of me in my business was just as lifeless as the relationship that I was in. And it's going to be the same for you too. It's no surprise that like business stress, financial stress can kind of like end relationships. And it's not that those things are ending the relationships, it's that the relationship isn't strong enough and being nurtured enough for you to have these other stresses in your life and be able to cope with them absolutely fine. You have to protect your relationship. Which then leads me on to like, well, what are you currently consuming? Because these are all the places we either spend time or don't spend time. What are you consuming? And I don't say these things to condemn. I've experienced and lived these, which is why I'm teaching them back to you. What you consume has a massive impact on what pours out of you. You cannot produce anything fruitful if what you're consuming is poisonous, right? If you go and lay down some poison close to a tree, the tree will eventually die. And so it can't produce the same things it was producing anymore because what it's consuming and taking in is rotting the roots. And it's the same for you too. So let's say you're consuming like hours of reels on Instagram because you're looking for a quick pickup before producing some content of your own, right? We've all done that. We've all gone, I need to produce content today. I'm just going to go to the toilet. You take your phone out and suddenly you've been 10, 15 minutes and you've been consuming funny videos or whatever it is. And suddenly you go back to needing to produce the content that you need to do for your business, and your mind's blank, right? Or when it's time to produce, it's like the opposite. You're so overstimulated that you end up producing maybe lots of content that just doesn't even hit the mark with the potential clients you're trying to land, right? Now, you see, you might be unaware of how these things are all connected, but like there are signs. So brain fog, right? Tiredness in the middle of the day, a little bit more agitated than usual. Maybe you got a little bit less patience, right? Poor discipline with health, just to name kind of a few things of the ways that these things show up. You cannot be consuming, poisonous things and hope to produce really valuable content for other people. It doesn't work like that. So speaking of health, how is your health, right? Are you buying meat from the butchers? Are you sourcing your fruits and vegetables locally? Do you have good social interactions and connections in the process? Do you have good social relationships around you? Right? Like you might be thinking, well, what's this got to do with anything, right? With how I spend my time in the business, but it has everything to do with it. If you're spending your time at the supermarket, right, it's kind of a low state to shop in because it's eyes down, it's quick grab and go. You want to get in and out as fast as you possibly can. The aim is to pretty much not speak to anyone, right? And even when you get to the checkout, it's a till with an automated voice that you talk to now. You don't even speak to it; just speaks to you. And yeah, you speak to no one. But worse yet, you're buying foods that have been pretty much sprayed with chemicals that are affecting your conscious awareness and your ability to focus on the time that you have. This shows up with folks who are like diagnosed with ADHD. Like ADHD is the biggest issue right now that like a lots of business owners seem to suddenly have. But 20 years ago, ADHD wasn't even a thing. And if you look at an ADHD questionnaire, essentially what determines whether you have it or not, it's literally things like, do you struggle to focus on tasks? And if everyone is like, oh my gosh, yeah, I do, but we're not looking as to the reasons as to why, it's ridiculous, but it's in our food and it's in our attention spans and it's in the boundaries that we haven't been able to set in our lifestyles that are now having a negative impact on the things that we actually want to take action on. And it's by design. And we are at the moment just a victim of these things. So this is how to fix even that right now, which is what we're going to go through. So look, here's just a simple change you could already make, right? Is that like if you go to your butcher's rather than a supermarket, you're going to have the opposite type of interaction, right? Because going to a butcher's is high on interaction. It's low on chemicals because the food that you're consuming is produced locally. And you're actually supporting other businesses like yours rather than big high street and supermarket brands. So you are here because you say you want to grow your business, but currently you're spending your time growing businesses that are already operating and exploiting smaller businesses like your own, and they're poisoning you in the process. So you say you want to have better, fix your time, but you have to therefore almost understand where else you're not spending your time very wisely. Because if you can fix that, you'll probably fix the other stuff too. Okay. So I'm sorry if you're getting a little bit of a different thing than you thought you were going to get here, but this is important. So what goes around comes around, right? Like we all kind of know that, but how is that affecting us? How do we go about our own shopping habits and how we spend our time and where we get our resources from? Time is a resource. And if you can start seeing it as that, you'll start to shift massively the behavioral lens that you have on how you spend your time. Okay. Everything we consume has an effect on what we produce. That's why it's so important to go through these bits and just to expand you a little bit to go, okay, I can see that what I'm consuming is having an effect on how I produce in the time that I have and how I spend my time. These things matter because when I give you a better time strategy, which I'm going to in a minute, it's going to be completely useless if you're still producing shit because you didn't fix the things that you're consuming. So I have to tell you what you need to fix first in order for this strategy to work. Now, you have to be more concerned with where your attention and time goes in order to fix this as well. I wasn't good at this. I'm not condemning anybody. I've just been through the toil of behavior change. I remember waking up to all the things that I was consuming and it's like, oh my gosh, I can see how this is actually like limiting my creativity. I can see how this is limiting the, what I can actually produce when I get given the time to produce. I used to consume all kinds of nonsense on my phone, right? I used to eat shit from the supermarkets, and I totally understand now what was leading me to produce, little value in my life because of it. So look, let's get into the calendar. Let's get like what you actually need to really spend your time on in the gym so that you don't and this works for all businesses as well. But this is how, like I said, I used to give so much time to things that just didn't produce good return on investment. So let's just simplify business growth, right? Most gym owners and just business owners, new business owners in general, like just they spend most of their time thinking like, how can I grow my business? How can I grow my business? And that's like a loop of lack just going on a daily basis. And you do a few things and you think, yep, that's it, done. But ultimately, business growth comes down to two things: marketing and sales, right? That is the only thing that can grow your business from outwards to in. Okay. To keep the business you already have and to grow the business you already have, that requires you to nurture your clients, right? To retain them. So there's two areas that you should spend your time on. And that's pretty much it when it comes to business growth. You need to spend on your time marketing, right? That's leads generated. That's the measurement of productivity there. So how many leads is your marketing producing is literally the measurement as to how good your marketing is and how therefore productive you are with your efforts in marketing. So if you are on this video and you currently spend like 5 hours a week on marketing and creating social media and, performing in the gym and whatever on TikTok, and you're not producing more than, let's say, like 12 leads, that's not time well spent. Okay. And obviously it points to like, there might be an issue with your messaging. There might be some skills for you to learn on social media. There might be some skills within like talking and storytelling and things like that. That's all happening later on. But you need to first wake up to the fact that you might not be producing good return on investment already. And so you know what I mean? Like we need to go under the surface a lot more to figure out what's really going on here. And then sales, this is leads converted. That's another measurement of productivity. Of the leads you got, how many became paying customers? So you can actually measure your productivity within your business and get that exact feedback of like, wow, is this high or is this low? Is this as good as I want it to be? And like if your return on investment and your productivity is really good right now and you're happy with everything, then great, right? And if you're like, well, I still eat from the supermarket and I still have great return on investment with my produce, that's ace, good for you. It's just that I'm talking to the people who aren't getting that, right? And I strongly believe that there isn't that many people who are happy with the return on investment and productivity that are also letting their time slip away in other areas of their life, because it's all correlated. And I'll break that down for you a little bit later on. So to keep the business you already need, you already have, you need to nurture your clients and retain them, right? You need to make people in your business feel seen and heard, and you need to provide value to them. That is it. Everything else in your business is secondary, okay? And when you know what you're doing with these activities, you know that you're going to be able to complete them within around, like, honestly, 2 focused hours a day, right? Marketing, getting some stuff out to your leads, that should be half an hour. You get a whole week's worth of content scheduled for a week in advance, and your sales stuff should be half an hour, right? When you know what you're doing, these activities can be, like I said, can be completed within about an hour each. And so I want to talk about like how I typically used to spend my day. First thing I would do is I'd wake up at like 5 and I'd spend some time with God, or it might be universe for you. It might even just be some meditation. It might even just be move your body, whatever it is. You might read, whatever you're doing to basically get your mind right for the day. That's what you need to do. You need to spend some time getting your mind right for the day. After that, I would actually just write something down, something that was either like on my mind that I could that my clients might have needed help with. It might be that it's just something of like passionate to me, but I'd write something down. And that piece of content that I would write at 5:30 in the morning would form the basis of my content for the rest of the week. And so I would use that content as the foundation, and I'd repurpose it to the different audiences that I had, right? So one version would go to my clients, because I'd be like, hey, this is on my heart, because I know that several of you have been, struggling with eating more vegetables this week or whatever it is. So I've written a piece of content directly for you. But the other version goes to my prospective clients. So it's the same thing. I don't have to do any more thinking. I just need to repurpose it. Hey, in my gym, I help people consume more fruits and vegetables, and I make it really simple for them to do it. If you struggle with consuming fruits and vegetables and you know that it's going to lead to your fitness goals improving, come and join in, right? Whatever it is. Very poor example, but you get the idea. So, like I said, one version for current clients, one version for prospective clients, because you don't have the same audience. And I see gym owners specifically make this mistake all the time. Your different audiences shouldn't receive the same message. The content on your Instagram is for potential clients, not your current clients. Okay. And so if you can schedule your content for the week ahead, right, it also doesn't need to be beautiful. This is the thing. It needs to be useful and potent in delivering the, hey, this is what I do. This is what you're going to get if you come here. Content is about the message, not the design. And in fact, if you're spending kind of hours making content look perfect, like I see a lot of gym owners do, you're probably spending way too much time on the wrong thing. So again, there's a lack of discipline with the time that you're allocating to some of these things because you're not understanding what the return on investment should be. If you understand that the return on investment for good marketing is leads generated, that's the only thing you should be chasing. And so if you're spending hours on your marketing and not getting leads, there's no point in spending hours. You need to go back to your message and you need to create maybe even more crappier content, right? Crappier looking content that has more potent messaging. If that drives your leads up, there you go. And if you save time in the process, ace. So schedule that content a week ahead. You need to follow up with every inquiry that you have, whether it's a DM, right? You need to pick up the phone. That's a big thing. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to call people. You've got to leave voicemails. You've got to send messages, and you've got to get appointments booked. That is your whole goal within the marketing and the sales hour that you have. Most gym owners really don't struggle with leads. They have a I don't follow up with you. They have like a follow-up problem. So picking up the phone is still literally one of the highest return activities available to you as a gym owner as well. And after you've done all that, like I said, if you've hoped, and like this is the thing, once I started doing this, like I used to get like 2 or 3 appointments booked a day. And that would meant like I had like 10 to 15 appointments booked a week. And if you've got 10 to 15 sales appointments booked a week, like you're never going to have a problem with needing new members ever again. But this is the work that most gym owners don't do. So you also need to then, right, we need to shift gears into nurturing current clients. And how we do that is we share our valuable content with them. And we also reach out to members who we haven't seen for like a week. If they haven't attended for a week, we're just going to reach out to them and give them a little message. Now, the ones that you haven't seen for months, this is what you're going to do with these people. You're going to ring them up, right? You're going to send them an email, text, whatever you want to do. And you're going to offer them a sit-down conversation that allows them to revisit their goals. You're going to say, hey, we know you haven't been here for a couple of months. Rather than continue to charge you for something you're not using, would it not make more sense to come in, have a conversation, and we can maybe realign your goals and help you get started again? Most people who you don't see for a few months, they feel guilty and they feel conscious about coming back in. So you have to be the one that's inviting them and saying, hey, it's okay. And actually, the way we're doing this clearly isn't working. It's probably time that we created a new plan, right? Because the thing isn't working. This is how I used to get a lot of my clients who maybe weren't very successful in group signed up to personal training. Because it'd be like, hey, group clearly isn't working for you. Otherwise, you'd be here. Does it make sense to sit down, realign our goals, and maybe create a different direction with what you're doing? Because I know that the goal of losing weight or whatever it is still important to you, but you're clearly not successful in the current way we're delivering that to you. So should we change the delivery? And this is what like leads to upsells. This is why, gym owners who don't understand how to grow their business, it's like there's money on the table already in the business. There's already money there. And so, yeah, it's a simple model, right? And it doesn't mean it's easy just because it's simple. Like this is stuff you have to do. You've got to get comfortable being on the phone. And that's it. Like your business shouldn't really consume every available hour of your day. It should literally, like, you should be so clear on what grows your business that it's just like, yep, I've done that. And now I can surrender the outcomes knowing that I've done the work that is needed to grow the business. So what does that allow you to do as well? Like knowing that your business can grow off essentially like 2 hours of work a day, You can start to shift perspective of like, okay, my business is now not consuming every hour of my day because I'm clear about what actually grows it. That means you can spend a little bit more time on your relationship if it needs attention, because your business stress shouldn't be dominating your life at home as well. If you can't switch off from your work, that's something that does need to be addressed now, right? Your partner deserves the best version of you and not whatever energy is left after the business has taken everything from you. If you've got children, then you have to be scheduling one-on-one time in them in your calendar too, right? Might sound a bit silly and cheesy, but like if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't get done. Whereas if it's in my calendar, it gets done. And like if you've always got like this idea of like, well, when I get the chance to, or it doesn't need to go on the calendar because it's there. I'll make time for it. Time's going to get away from you every single time. Like I said, time is a resource, and it would be useful. Like I think it would be so much more useful if we saw or had a representation of time other than a clock. If we had to spend it, if we had to give something away every time, an hour passed, it would be make us a lot more conscious about like, well, what did I just do in that hour? I've given this away, but what did it give me back in return? Like, how did I spend that time well? So you have to make sure it goes in the calendar, just like the same way you'd schedule a sales appointment, right? And then this is where most gym owners go completely wrong, and I went wrong for years, is they don't put enough time in there for themselves. Now, most gym owners want to train, or coaches, they want to train. But like, are you also making time for rest? Are you also pursuing hobbies that have absolutely nothing to do with your business? You need to do things that remind you that you are actually a human being and you're not just a business owner, because somewhere inside of all of us, there is still the little boy or girl version in operation, wishing that you would do more playful things in the day and you would have more fun and more joy. And if you're not making time for those things because you've decided you're a serious adult, and I did this, so I'm not condemning, then you are missing out on a massive amount of almost like creative energy, creative flow, and clarity that could grow your business exponentially. And so, above all else, you need to learn to rest. That's the big thing, because every week should contain at least one full rest day where you are not focused on your business at all. No emails, no social media, no planning, no, I'll just check this. Like, you need to have a phone ban, right? And the reason why is that, like, if you struggle to rest now, you're going to struggle to rest when you are successful as well. Okay. And if you're working a lot with your head and you struggle to rest initially, work with your hands. It just needs to be unrelated to the work that you do. And if you work with your hands a lot, work with your head instead, right? Go and learn something, go garden, go build something, cook, fix something around the house that needs fixing. Just whatever you do, make sure you're putting the business down for at least a day. Now, if you're sat here thinking like, Mike, this is all good and well, but like, I need to grow my business now. I'm fast, and it doesn't make sense for me to pour into my relationships. It doesn't make sense to me to put my business down, and you know what I mean. I'm going to lose traction if I work less on my business or in my business. Then I need to let you know that these are strongholds in your life that you are in bondage to. I'm telling you that if you focus your time elsewhere, the time that you spend on the business, when you get time to spend on the business, will become more potent, more direct, and it will produce more return on investment than what's currently going on right now. Okay? Your nervous system needs to be prepared to actually receive from your efforts. But if you're always in the state of I need to give, and do, and you're never taking time for yourself or pouring into relationships and spending time with the kids and doing the things that really matter, I promise you, you do not want a successful business when you don't have those other things foundationally in place first. I learned this the hard way. So, like I said, that day just never arrives. Rest is actually a skill, and you shouldn't learn it later. It's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. You're going to lose relationships. You're going to lose, people along the way, and it's something that you should learn now. If you don't know how to rest, all you'll do is grow a bigger version of what you currently have, which is potentially chaos. So everything needs a place on the calendar, right? Now, this isn't going to make your life rigid. This is going to make your life efficient. It means that you, like, every hour that you do get and that you do spend is going to be potent. There's going to be a return on investment attached to it. So actually, your life will get easier. Your life will get far more simple. And mine has, as a result of doing this. Because if you don't intentionally allocate your time, someone else will. And eventually you're going to wake up with a successful business, but an exhausted mind, neglected relationships, and no idea how you got there. So growth isn't just about making more money. It's actually about building a business that supports the life that you actually want. Now, I want to go through just real quick, like how I spend my time. I would love to show you my calendar real briefly so that you can see it, because I have a few different calendars. This is just one of them. But as you can see here, I have daddy time allocated for my boys, Theo and Noah. And that happens every day. And it's going to happen in 5 minutes, which I cannot wait for. Because I've done everything else in my day. Everything I need to do to grow my business, everything I do to nurture my current clients has already been done. So I can surrender the rest of my day. And everything's in there. All of my content is done on a Monday, so I don't need to worry about content any other day of the week. I just need to post them if I don't schedule them. I prepare for a podcast that my wife and I record 7 p.m. on a Sunday. I prepare for that on the Friday. I do all of my metrics and KPIs for the end of the week. Why? Because it means that when I get to the end of the month, I don't have to go and sift back through 4 weeks worth of stuff. I've got four spreadsheets it's 4 entries on spreadsheets that I then just use in my monthly. So it's like, this is your productivity comes from a way of like, when you've lived seasons of making so many mistakes, you start to go, actually, well, what's really important? And as soon as you become aware of what's important, like everything in your business and in your life is just going to get simple, because you're just like, that's not important. And yeah, it doesn't lead to anything good. I don't need it in my life. I don't need it in my calendar. And so that's why it's now real simple. Go ahead and start thinking about how you use your time, but spend like if you need help developing a little bit more, like, better marketing, better sales, all these other things. Like I said, you still have to get good at those things as well. You have to get very good at them. There are skills and there is knowledge that is required for those things to be, to produce really good return on investment. But like ultimately, it doesn't really matter if you put these things in your calendar. If you're not allocating time to the right things in other areas of your life, it will still be a very limited return on investment, no matter how skillful you become. So get good at allocating your time evenly across all of the things that matter: relationships, health, resources, all the good stuff. Hope that was helpful. See you soon.